Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing our previous lessons that we've learned about comments and variables, and then after that, we're going to be learning about data types. I'm excited for this. And for the data types we're going to be covering are going to be strings, integers, floats, lists, tuples, set, dictionaries, and Booleans. So stay tuned, and if you are finding these videos very helpful to you, please go ahead and subscribe and like this video, and let's get started. Let's do a review from our lesson 1. I've written down instructions that you need to follow to get this review completed. Let's read over this. Select a variable and assign a value to that variable. That's the first set of instructions. And then second set of instructions say print out sample text with the variable value. Please go ahead and pause for a few seconds to tackle this before we move forward. Let's go ahead and solve this sample challenge that we got from lesson 1. So let's pick a variable. To my variable equals, and then pick world, and second line says print out sample text with the variable value. So let's go ahead and write the print statement, and we're gonna write some sample text. So we're gonna do hello plus the variable value, it says. And let's go ahead and copy paste that in. And that is what was expected of us. So let's go ahead and run this. As you may have guessed it, this was an invalid variable that I used, and that was done purposefully, so that way you understand that this is not a valid variable. Let's turn this into a valid variable and then run this program again. So let's delete that. And then the output we're expecting is for it to be hello. That's the standard text that we put in there, and we're gonna have our variable value in here, which is gonna say world. So this is for us to join two strings together, and it should print out hello world for us. So let's go ahead and run this program. All right, there you go. That was the expected output that we were gonna see, and we see it on our screen, and we've completed this successfully. Let's move on to our next lesson. In this lesson, we're gonna be going over common data types, and some of the data types you've already seen. So for example, we've already seen string, which is just simply you would be, I picked a variable of x and then I assigned a string value of hello world. So what we can do is we can find out the type of the variable x, and we can print this out, and then it will actually tell us what the data type is. So as you can see over here, it says the data type for this variable is a string, and that's what that printed out. So if you have more variables that are assigned, let's pick y for example, and let's just do John, and we're going to do the same thing. Let me just copy paste, that's a lot easier, and then just change the variable to y, and then run this, and you're going to see yet again we have picked a data type of string, and we printed out both of these values on here. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to comment this one out, and we're going to look at integers next. So for integers, let's use the same values again, and x equals to 1, right? And let's print type. Let's find out what the data type of that is, x. So the data type for x is an integer, and you already know numeric values are integers. So when we use the variable x and assign it a value of 1, the program already knows that it's a number that you're working with. So let's use another number, and let's do, well, I can't do x again. Well, I can, but I want to differentiate it. So let's pick y and print that out, and you can see these are the examples of integers. So integers are numbers, and then up top we have strings that we used. So anything that's text related or anything that you put in quotes is going to be considered a string, so quotations. And then so let's see if we actually change this to x equals 1, but we're going to put it in quotes. Let's see what the results are. So what that did was it changed the data type to a string, because now since we added the data in quotes, Python already knows that this is now in return is a string value rather than an integer. And That's pretty much it for integers. And then let's look at floats. So floats are, let me comment this out up top because we want to start fresh. And then floats are anything that has decimal values is going to be considered a float. Type. Let's find out the type. That's why we're printing out type, to find out what data type it is, right? So when we do this, it specifies that it's a float. So anytime, as I mentioned before, if you have decimal values, then it's going to classify that to be a float. If it doesn't have any decimal values, then it's going to be an integer. Let's print this out, and you're going to see there's going to be two floats, right? And then just to show you the difference, I'm going to take out the decimal values, and you're going to see the first one is going to be float, the second one is going to be an integer. So let me go ahead and run this. And as you can see, as I mentioned, the first one is going to be a float, and the second one is an integer. And you can see that's reflected on the bottom that says what data type it is. And let's go over lists now. So example of list is when you want to create a list, it's going to be, you're going to give it a variable name, pick a variable. And then once you're in the variable, you can, let's say you wanted to make a list of people, John, Jane, and Jack. All right, let's do the J names. And then when you actually print out, can't spell print. And then when we try to do the data type of X this time, let me just make sure others are commented out. And then when we print this out, you're going to see the data type is going to be a list. So think about it like grocery list items, right? When you make a list of grocery items that you need, then you're pretty much putting it into a list. So it's the same thing with this. So we'll talk about this more in detail, but I wanted to just give a sample of what lists are. And same thing, what you can do is put numbers in there. And when you print this out and you do type of Y, you're going to see it is still a list of, but this list just has numbers in it. So this is how you classify a list. And let's take a look at tuple. So for list, just to make it easy for me, I'm just going to copy paste that in here. And what I'm going to do is comment this piece out. And the only not only difference, the main difference between list and tuples is, of course, the way it's captured. It's still a list per se, but the values inside of this quote unquote list, or the set of data that you're collecting in this data type, is you won't be able to change it. So that's the difference between a list and a tuple. Let's go ahead and print this out, and you're going to see all I did was change it from brackets to parentheses, and then this converted the data type to a tuple. So what tuples is, like I mentioned before, you won't be able to change the data that's inside of this, but it's just for reference points. And when we get into detail for when we're working with tuples, I'll go over it much more in detail so you can differentiate. Next topic we're going to be covering is sets. So sets are, let me reuse this data, copy that. It's in a similar fashion where it's set of data that you're going to be capturing, but this time you're going to be using curly braces to capture your data. And then this is how you would capture sets of data. When I print this out, you're going to see that the data type now is going to change from tuples to sets by us using curly braces. And like I said, when we go into detail with sets, we'll talk about it even more. And then the next one we're going to be looking at is dictionary. So dictionary is pretty good, fun to work with, because I always think of dictionaries as an actual dictionary where you would have, let's say you have a key. So name is going to be labeled as key. And then the value that you have for name is John, for example. And what you will do next is you're going to create another key, and then you will give it a value. So age, we can keep it as an integer. So we can give John's age as 30. And let's print out this type. And when I print out this data type, you're going to see that this data type is going to be coming up as a dictionary. So dictionary is pretty much key and value pairs. So key is name, key is age, and then the value for name is John, and the value for age is 30. So that's what makes it dictionary. As of right now, I'm just giving an overview, so we'll talk about more dictionary items more in detail. And the very last item that we have on here is Booleans. So Booleans are, sorry, let me comment this piece out. Booleans are your true and false. So let's print out our Boolean, which is x equals to true. And as you can see that the data type that we have printed out when we assigned x equals to true, it printed out that the data type that's x is a Boolean. Same thing if you wanted to see another example of that, when we do y equals false and we do print, and let's find out the data type of that, you are going to see both of these are going to be Booleans because that's what they are. All right, I have a small review for everyone to do. I got 3 questions here for this lesson. So the first question states, assign 2 variables, one for your name, another for your age, and print them out in this format. And this is the format I'm looking for. And then second question says, make a list of your friends' first names. And then the third question is, use the names from question 2 and make a dictionary with your friend's name and their age. So I got the questions down here. Take a stab at these, and then I will cover the answers for these questions in our next video. Thank you.